In episode 27, I chat with Gastonia Operations Assistant John Bridges. Stay tuned if you want to hear all about building bridges. Our guest today is from Gastonia, North Carolina, attended Gaston College and UNC Charlotte, a longtime high school coach for baseball, softball, and other sports, currently the operations assistant for the Gastonia Ghost Peppers. I know a guy, and his name is John Bridges. John, how's it going?
Doing great, Noah. Good to be here.
Of course, great to have you on. We've been talking about this forever. It's finally good to get you on.
I think since you came. I've been begging. I said, they got to get me on the show. Got to get me on.
Well, we're in the off season. It's a lot easier to get you on now, and I'm very happy you're here.
Very true.
5th season with Gastonia baseball. How special is it for you to be contributing to the area you grew up in?
Well, I've mentioned in our conversations that I grew up watching baseball at Sims Legion Park, now home of the Gaston College Rhinos baseball team. So, I saw a lot of baseball come through Gastonia, and being able to be part of it here and meeting a lot of guys that have been in the bigs, it's kind of special to me. And I had a conversation last year, Southern Maryland's coach, turned out that he had actually been a coach-manager position here with the Rangers organization, because he asked me, he said, is that ball field still here in town? So, that was neat just to kind of come full circle with somebody I saw as a middle schooler, years ago, and now he's here in the league. So,
John, you've been around the game for a long time. Your grandfather played baseball back in the late 1920s. He pitched 3 no-hitters in his lifetime, according to you. Did you ever ask him for details about those no-hitters?
I did. He was a man of few words. He didn't talk a lot about his baseball. I used to rag him about not making it to the majors so I could at least be a bat boy making, $30,000-$40,000, being something, being some capacity. But no, by the time I was old enough to really talk about it, he was getting up in age. So, but he came here, if I'm remembering correctly, it was about 1929, 1930. On the pretense of he was going to open a textile mill, which was Threads Incorporated, known as Ticaro, and now it's part of American Eford. But he came here to run the mill, but the real goal was to get him down here to pitch for their textile league team in the textile leagues here in North Carolina, which he did quite well, and eventually became friends with Crash Davis, Bull Durham movie fame. So that was kind of neat to know that he knew somebody that there was a movie made about. But he was quite an athlete.
Would you listen to baseball stories from your grandfather growing up? I know for me personally, that's a big reason why I fell in love with the game. Was that a big reason for you too?
It was. Like I said, my grandmother kept all the newspaper clippings, anything that was ever written that you could keep about him. My aunt has that now in Wisconsin. We've been trying to get it on microfiche so we could, save it and document it. I think my biggest prized possession is an original 1928 photograph of my grandfather, my great-grandfather, and the Elks Club baseball team with the Chicago White Sox scout who came to look at him. Together. I snagged it real fast when he passed and had it museum mounted, so it's one of my prized possessions. So,
John, you were born in 1960. You're turning 65 in June. Way back when you were growing up in Gastonia, you saw a lot of minor league baseball. Touched upon this a little bit. The Pirates, the Rangers, of course, the Grizzlies. How often would you go to those games here in Gastonia? My dad and I went quite often out to Sims. It was not far from, I grew up in an area, for those that are familiar with Gastonia, probably 3-4 miles from the ballpark here near Shields Museum of Natural History. Most people know where Shields is. So we would run out to Sims and watch the games in the evening. I think if I'm remembering back correctly, Roberto Clemente came through here. At one time, I think Nolan Ryan even was in town with the Rangers organization. Of course, the Grizzlies were here. I saw Muggsy Bogues and Dale Curry play with them one night. Russell Wilson was actually playing with them at times. So there's been a lot of quality athletes come through this town, and a lot of quality baseball players come out of this town. So I think people that have not experienced
Ghost Peppers baseball or any other activity here at the Fuse Ballpark, they're missing out. I really do.
You played outfield in high school at North Gaston. Is that correct?
Yes.
Mostly left field, I believe you told me?
Mostly left, yep.
Why did the outfield suit you the best?
I was pretty fast. Couldn't hit worth a darn. I could pull everything out of the park down left field line, but never a fair ball. But I was very fast, and, 45 years ago, maybe, if I'm doing my math right, I could throw it from the wall to the home plate. But I do good to get it from the wall to the infield here. The guys give me a hard time when they're doing BP and I'm trying to throw balls back. So
you steal a lot of bases? You said you were quick.
Didn't do a lot of stealing, but I would risk it. If I turned first and the guy didn't have the ball in good control, I'd go ahead and try to stretch it, but I got thrown out most of the time. So
here's a story you once briefly told me. You got stuck under the fence in the outfield diving for a ball in high school, and your teammates had to lift the fence off of you to get you out of that situation. How did that happen? Also, I want to know if you made the catch, because I feel like that might be the most important.
Well, it was a ground ball. It had rained earlier in the evening. For people that know about high school baseball, all the fields are not immaculate like our field here. And as I got to the end of the field to stop at the fence so I could reach down and grab the ball, my feet slipped out from under me because it was wet grass. And the fence was not anchored, and my legs went about halfway under the fence. So my teammates came, and, of course, they helped me get the fence off. But the bad thing was I ran in, sat down on the bench. Coach Lee looked at me. He's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm getting ready to get my bat and go hit." He said, "There's only 2 outs." So I had to run all the way back out to left field. So I kind of embarrassed myself on that.
Okay, so maybe a story you would like to forget.
No, I still laugh about it.
John, you were going to try and walk on at East Carolina, but then the dean of the art department wanted you to do another year of school, so you never enrolled. You went into the world of art and graphics, what you call God-given talent. You're a graphic designer, an artist. When did you get such a big passion for art?
Growing up during school, if my teachers gave me projects to do, I did really well. They gave me papers to do or written work, not so good. But when I went out to Gaston College, I wanted to be a fireman. That's what I always wanted to be. And they just did not have the fire science program, the police and fire academy like they do now. And my neighbor was head of engineering at Gaston, and he pushed me to take a couple art classes. So I took some art classes. The professors at Gaston said, "You need to be, at East Carolina or Ringling. You're too talented." And when I finished with my 2-year degree. When I went down to ECU, my goal was to walk on, play baseball, and finish my art degree. However, the dean wanted me to do another year of portfolio work, so henceforth I ended up in the job world, working in graphics and signs and learning firsthand how to do it. But today, everything is technical. Everything is on the computer, AI files, JPEGs, PNGs. I learned how to do it with the T-square, a straight edge, and with my eyes. So that's enabled me to do it, but I still have fun doing it all the time, piddling and playing and making things for different people when they ask. So.
Well, John, now you're an elementary school teacher at Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools at Newell Elementary K-12. You teach 12 classes a day, is that correct?
Well, yeah, it's actually K-5, but I teach 12 classes. So I teach each day. I have two third, then 2 fourth, 2 fifth prior to lunch. And then after lunch, I get the little ones. I get 2 kindergarten, 2 first, and then 2 second to finish up. So have to get a lot done in 30 minutes time, but it's very, very much a fun time for me because, the kids are always interested in learning. And I got a little note from a girl the other day. She said she had something to give me when I was out doing my morning duty, and she had actually thanked me for being the art teacher, told me how much she liked art, but she had drawn a picture of what we are working on this week. She had already gone home and tried to do it. So at least that tells me at least I'm reaching a few of them here and there. So that makes me feel really good.
I was going to say, it's got to be a great feeling,
yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
You started working year one for Gastonia in 2021. How excited were you that baseball was coming back to Gastonia?
Oh, as soon as I knew they were coming, I kept watching and kept watching. When are you going to start? When are you going to start? And Brian Fisher would probably tell you, I hounded him to death till he told me to come on down and do the application. So from the get-go, my goal was to get a job here. Ultimately, put a bug in Andy's ear, Ultimately, I'd like, when I retire from school in another year or so, try to find a permanent spot with the organization downstairs here, or perhaps Charlotte with the Checkers, or even Greensboro, or one or the other. My wife would probably prefer me to move to the Jacksonville office, since her son and new granddaughter are in Tampa. That would be a little closer. So, but I would like to stay with the organization as long as I'm healthy enough to work. Yeah, this, as Zach Jarrett said in a podcast a few weeks back, this is my happy place.
Why do you feel that? Why is it your happy place?
It just is. I mean, everybody here is just so nice, and I wish people could understand that these are just regular guys. I mean, and they're not untouchable. Everybody thinks professional athletes are untouchable. These guys here will talk to you. They'll sign autographs. They'll reach out to people. They'll do nice things. I think back. I know most people know the young man that sits behind the bench and cheers for the team and goes down. The Goose and them have him down in the dugout. He's such a big fan. I remember a couple years ago we needed a home run, and that was when Boog Powell was here. And I told him, I said, yeah, tell Boog to hit a home run. Well, sure enough, Boog hit a home run. So he cheered and clapped, but Boog came off the field and gave him his gloves and a couple other things he just had in his hands. Might have even been a bat, I think. And to me, that tells me these guys are just as humble as anybody else. They're not unavailable to you. And if people just come out here and see what these guys have to offer. And I've made so many friends. Like I said, I had A.J. Merkel year one live with me. I've had Alex Sanabia from the Marlins, Sam Freeman that was with the Braves and the Nationals, and I think he was actually with the Rangers at one time. So, having those guys around, and we still talk on a monthly basis. I know Alex just finished. I did some shoes, custom shoes for him for his team, the Toros, down in the Dominican. And he told me he would get me something for doing that. Well, he sent me a jersey from when he got back to Miami. I don't know how he got the jersey, but he sent me the jersey. So,
yeah, several seasons ago you started doing the custom cleats for Gastonia players, Luis Curbelo, like you just mentioned, Sanabia. During the What If nights in 2024, you had several pairs done for a player to be raffled off later on. So explain what kind of cleats you have done for the guys.
So most of the cleats are the ones that they wear, ones that they've ordered. A lot of them come from their suppliers because most of them have some type of shoe deal if they've been high enough AAA or in the majors. But I use this Angelus Direct leather paint. It's made for customizing shoes, and you go through several steps of cleaning the finish off of them and add different colors or to your design, and then you reseal them to protect them. And so far I've had a lot of success with them. The only ones I've had trouble with was Gabe's when he was here. Of course, he was about 7 foot tall and so big. I guess he just had such a big stride, it just put a big crease in one spot, and we kept having to work on getting it right. But I finally got those right for him. So, but I enjoy doing it, and I had a great time doing the What If night shoes. And doing those to match the different uniforms we were wearing, and then I was more than glad to let them raffle them off so that the fans could get a piece of what went on this year, because this was a special year. I mean, we had so many different teams, but truth be told, I wanted it to be Ghost Peppers when I heard that name to begin with. So.
I believe you have some new shoes.
Is
that correct?
Yeah, these are my work shoes for this season. I have to get a new pair for every season. So Nike Customizer, you can go online, and luckily this particular shoe, the colors that were available were the colors you see. It took me a little bit of searching because some of the colors were pastel colors, but these are a little bright. I think my boss, Brian, he ordered him some as well, but his are just green and white and red. He's a little more laid back than I am. I like to be a little flashier. So.
For those listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever, not watching on YouTube, they are Ghost Peppers colors. New shoes for John. They look really cool.
Thank you.
Also, aside from just shoes and cleats, the home run chain. That was a big thing this year. Big hit this season.
Yeah, the home run chain that came about. I said something to a couple of guys, and I said, "Would y'all wear it?" I'm thinking, my wife's like, "Are you crazy? Those are professionals. Those are major league players, grown men. They are not wearing that around their neck." And I said, "No, they asked me to do it." So I've got a buddy here in town that has a business, so he was gracious to give me an old piece of a trophy, a batter. I went to Hobby Lobby and got a G and put some things down on it, made it look like a bling-bling chain, and got some gold sunglasses to go with it, and they had a ball with it. Every time somebody hit a home run, they'd meet them and hang it. So I've got something up my sleeve for this year. I've found a place that I can get one done. So we may have a Ghost Pepper home run chain when the season rolls around here in a few months. So.
I feel like you got to have something, right? Back-to-back seasons of 200 homers.
Oh,
it's going to happen a lot, especially here at this park. So.
Oh, definitely.
John, aside from, of course, having phenomenal cleats made, home run chain, what does your day-to-day look like here at CaroMont Health Park?
On a day that we have just a normal homestand, whether it be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Once school's out, I'm here a couple hours earlier. During the school year, I get here probably an hour before game time. But typically, make sure the mound doesn't need any repairs with Brian. We'll make sure it's been brushed and groomed. Occasionally on a Saturday or Friday if I'm out of school or in the summertime when I'm not working, Brian will have me go out and brush the field just to pick up the trash or sweep the field, and then I'll let me groom it. He's graciously taught me how to halfway put lines in the field. Of course, we put the batting practice stuff out and take it down prior to the game around 6:30 or so. But that's pretty much it, unless turf needs maintenance. Now, if we have other sports going on, such as Gaston College's softball is here, of course, we have to paint out our batters boxes, add a few different things for those games. And, of course, I know I mentioned to you we've had football here. I wish we'd have a little more football here just for the exposure in the fall and in the off season. So we have actually painted a full-blown football field, numbers and all, hash marks. Of course, I did do the hash marks the wrong direction. Not the wrong direction, but they were 5 yards too far in. I put NFL hash marks instead of high school, college hash marks. But you
were overdoing it.
Yeah, I was trying to go above and beyond.
Exactly, yeah.
Above and beyond.
You don't have to worry about tarp pulls, though. And that's a joke you always crack to me.
Every time it rains, I said, we got to get the tarp out. We got, need to get the tarp out. But, this field is amazing. I don't know if people are listening had a chance to see the park during construction. I'm fortunate I live close enough I could swing by and just see how the progress was going. And when they originally did the outfield or did the grading for the playing surface, there was a huge hole right down the middle, just this big rectangular swimming pool in the middle of the field. And that's where all the drainage system is. So it can handle any rain that we've had. And, of course, last year we had a couple rains come through, and it drains off pretty quick. The only place that ever tends to stand right now is where we stop with the gator when we're dragging or cleaning the field, and a lot of the rubber gets dropped, which is out at the gate in left field. So, but I wish we had a little more maintenance to do. I miss getting to drag the field and manicure it. Somebody told me the other day the grass really looked, or one game told me the grass really looked good, and I said, yeah, I get out there with the scissors and do each blade one at a time, but no.
The running joke, by the way, for anyone not understanding, is that it's turf. It's a turf field, so no need for any tarp, no need to cut grass.
No, that does make it easy. Now, it makes it tough with the guys that have been in the bigs, wearing the steel spikes. That just inevitably tears the mound up, and you have to patch it. I remember one night a few years ago, and I don't want to go into detail, but it was a fiasco trying to get it fixed right during the middle of a game. So Brian I give Brian kudos. He does a good job at taking care of the patchwork on the turf and knowing when it needs to be fixed. Some people may notice when the season starts this year, there's different colors in front of first, second, and third. The company came and replaced that because that's just a standard area that gets worn over the course of time, and it was time for it to come out and be replaced. So.
John, we have a segment on this podcast called Cool Connections. What's a special connection you've made along the way in your journey, whether it be in coaching, whether it be as an art teacher, or in baseball?
Golly, I guess my coolest connection probably just the guys that I've met here. I still talk to Alex Sanabia on a regular basis. I talk to Sam Freeman on a regular basis, Cabela on a regular basis. So a lot of these guys, I get to speak to. I know High Point's pitching coach, Viola, he and I chat all the time. I think the funniest thing or the funniest connection I made, the guy that is the hitting coach for High Point, used to be Wake Forest's head baseball coach, brought them from the bottom of the pile back to existence again a few years ago. I think at one time he had gone up to be the bench coach or work with the Mets again, and that was how he ended up with High Point because he lives in Winston. Somebody said, "Hey, Frank, you need to call so-and-so." Remember he was with the Mets. We were doing batting practice, or some of the guys were in the cage one afternoon, and this was early afternoon, like right when High Point got here. And they had the pitching machine on crates. And the old guy, he comes by and he says, y'all need to get some legs. And I said, well, tell me what you're talking about. He said, come down here, and it's too hot out here. Come down here in the building, and I'll tell you. So he told me to get pipe from Home Depot. And he told me how to bend it. He told me how to cut it. So I did it. Next day, he said, that looks really good. They had it out in the batting cage working. Well, long story short, that night we had like 8 or 9 runs in one inning. I forget how many hits it was. He came out there after the game to get in his car to go back to Winston. He said, I need the legs. I said, excuse me? He said, I need the legs, and I'm not giving you any more advice. So that's the running joke he and I have had now for more than a year about, he's not giving me any more advice. So
that's great.
But he's become a good friend. So
you got to love a little friendly competition, friendly rivalry, right?
Certainly, especially with High Point.
What do you think's the biggest accomplishment the operations team has had when it comes to improving this park, or really anything that happened over these years?
I just think, we have a really good team. Of course, we have a really good leader in Brian. We take care of what we have. We work hard to make it better than I think it really should be. Kind of go above and beyond what is expected of us, I think. For people that don't know, operations does not just include taking care of the field and rolling out the batting cages. If we have to change the light bulbs or work on the TV or work on the plumbing, when we have events here in the Premium Club, we set up for those events and take down for those events. So I just think our dedication, Brian's dedication to the facility and taking care of it, and knowing, of course, Brian's been here since it was in construction, so he knows every bolt that's been turned and every nook and cranny of the facility. So, and I've been here now, like you say, this starts my 5th year, so he's kind of entrusted more and more to me as I've been here. So I'm just excited to keep working. That's important to me.
I know you've told me in the past one thing you were really proud of is one night there was a football game and then you turned it back into a diamond the day after.
I know. Yeah. So for those that don't know, I'm thinking there were 4 high school games. Legion Academy from Rock Hill played a couple games here. The very first one we had was in the late season. Of course, to our luck, we were making a run to the playoffs. I think this was year 2. After Brady had taken over doing the player acquisition. And we had a game on Thursday night, high school game. Had lines on the field, goal post up. But we had a home game at 6 o'clock on Friday. And so we ended up, as soon as the football game was over, the goalposts were taken apart, put on a cart, moved to the outside the gate. Then we took the garden hoses from every angle we could find a place to hook one up and started washing the chalk paint off. Got most of that off, and then Brian and I think a couple of other office staff finished Friday morning. So we did get the game started on time, and the lines were gone, and you really couldn't tell for the most part where football had been. But that was a interesting night because, you know, football game lasted till almost 10, and then we were out here to probably 12:30, 1 o'clock trying to get done what we needed to get done. So
you all huddle up after the baseball game and say, "Job well done, guys. We could rest now. We could take a deep breath."
I don't know. It's always something. I'm kind of dreading what's getting ready to happen because as we talk, Gaston plays their softball games here. So opening part of our season for about 2 or 3 weeks, that fence out there that's put up for softball, it goes up and down about 8 times between them playing softball and then we have a game. And then we're gone and they play softball and we have a game. So it's up and down, up and down, up and it's not hard to move. It just takes the right amount of people, and if you do it efficient, we've learned in 5 years how to do it. That's the thing I can honestly say, that through trial and error, we figured out the easiest way to move it. I can remember when we take the mound apart to move it, we used to put piece by piece on the back of the gator. Now we know how to move it more efficiently. So it's just, we've learned different ways to handle the different things that have come around.
What's made you stay around the game all these years, from playing as a kid to coaching, of course, and then now working at a stadium every day?
Well, you know, I mentioned it earlier. It's my happy place. I mean, I really enjoy being out here. When I've coached at the high school level with baseball and softball, I'd spend hours working on the fields. I can remember in high school when I was going to coach softball at West Brunswick High down in Charlotte, and the field was a little rough for my liking. So I ran string, resurveyed, just basically surveyed the whole field, moved sod, got a sod cutter, fixed it, got one of the dads who was a golf course maintenance guy. He got me some turf that we needed and put some more turf back in. But it's relaxing. You know, some people like to ride motorcycles. Some people like to take drives. Some people sit on the back porch and sip wine. But, I mean, it's just relaxing for me. And even here, we have turf, but just getting out here and working on the field, doing the things that I need to do. You know, one of my goals, and I don't know if it'll ever happen, and probably not the place to say it, but I'll throw it out there anyway. You can edit it out if it's wrong, but
we'll see.
I'd love to go. I would love to go on a road trip with the team, even if it's just a weekend road trip, just kind of a bucket list thing. That would be, you know, even if it's just a high point. You know, let me go hang out with them on Friday night. Go hang out with them Saturday, just to see what goes on. I've seen it here, but I've never seen it on the road. How does the day take? Or, you know, travel with you sometime when you're doing the radio show just to tag along and see how it goes when we're on the road. You know, I don't want to go all the way to New York. That's a long. I know you do, but that's that's a long drive. But that's kind of my bucket list. But like I say, I love doing things, just making things nicer and working. I know a couple years ago I kept staring at when we'd have games at the line above the outfield wall. I'm like, that looks bad. You know, it was just faded out. The sun had just butchered it. I went out to Home Depot and got a couple gallons of Rust-Oleum chrome yellow paint. Came out here one morning, and you had to do it in the morning because if you did it after 9 o'clock, the paint started getting sticky because of the heat. But I rolled from right field all the way to the high wall in left field, and I didn't have any way to get up to the top. So I got negligent in my duties. I didn't finish the whole job. So
Didn't you say you wanted to coach first base once?
Oh yeah, I wanted. It was on the job board. It was on Sawyer's job board, first base coach. I was going to apply for that, but
you should.
Goose still owes me 3 innings.
He said that?
Well, not 3. Let me step back. 3 batters. I have to face 3 batters. I think that's league rule.
Okay.
Because I told him I wanted to pitch one game. I said I couldn't be any worse than the night year one or year two when half the team went to the mound. So, I could get it to the plate. Now, whether it stayed in the ballpark after I got it to the plate, that's a whole nother animal. But, Goose and I have joked about that a lot. Hey, guy, can I pitch today?
I'll talk to Goose. I'll tell him. I'll tell him that he should.
Last year when we were looking for some pitchers toward the playoffs, I'm like, I can throw at least to 3 batters. So.
John, we have a Pep Talk segment. What is the best piece of advice you've ever gotten?
To be honest, stop talking. Don't say anything else. Don't say anything. We're good. That's good. Let it go. So,
who gave you that advice? Unless you.
No. It was Fisher, my boss, Brian. So he's like, that's enough. Let it go.
He's a party pooper sometimes. Let's be honest.
Nah, he's a great guy. He's a great guy.
No, Brian's the best.
I don't know how he puts up with me as long as he has. He's a great guy. He and I have become good friends. So that's another thing. Everybody here we become friends with. There are still some people from year one here with the organization, and they're new people, and become good friends with them and their significant others if they have them. So that's meant a lot. A lot of places it's just a job. To me, this is not a job. I don't even look at it as a second job. I just look at it as being able to experience something that I wanted to experience, 40, at least 40 years ago, when I wanted to play college baseball and aspirations to go on and do more. But, just wasn't in the cards. But I've still got to do my artwork, and I've still got to be around ball and love every minute of it. So.
I know someone like Brian might say, stop talking. I would never say that in a million years. You have such a joy for telling stories. Where does that joy come from?
I've just had a gift, I guess. People say I've never met a stranger, which is probably true. I mean, I'll talk to anybody. I know I always ask because I'm one that, I better ask if this is okay to do. But whenever we have events here, we do Conference Carolinas baseball tournament. That brings in a lot of people that have never seen the facility. Some close enough that they could come to a game, some not close enough. But I always take the time to use my ability to move around the ballpark, and I'll bring them up to the premium club level, let them see from the 200 seats. I'll show them the kitchen. I'll show them around the facility, and they're just amazed at what we have. I know there's a couple came from, I'm wanting to say it was somewhere down toward Florence, maybe down toward Columbia area, and they said this facility just was unbelievable. Just the views that you had from every angle in the ballpark. But I think it's important to be an ambassador for the team as well as the city of Gastonia while I'm working here. Like I say, there are people still that live in Gaston County and the surrounding county that never been in here, that didn't even know what it was for. I know a gentleman told me last year, I ride by here every day. I didn't know they played baseball there. Kind of hard to figure out how he didn't know there was a scoreboard out there, but anyway.
Between coaching, being an art teacher, being an exceptional children's teacher even, what makes you so eager to teach?
I like being around the kids. They always say you get satisfaction out of seeing that light bulb come on. And I think today it's tough. It's hard to find teachers. People don't want to do it anymore. There's so much that goes on in the school system as far as, I hate to bring up violence, but there's a lot of violence that happens in schools now. Kids, the respect factor of children is not where it used to be when I started even. So, but I enjoy it because the kids do appreciate you when you put forth a little bit of effort to reach them at their level. And I try to understand, what makes them tick. Like with my art, teaching art, I try to teach to the kids that I'm working with. I'm in a predominantly Hispanic, Latino culture right now at the school I'm at. So I try to find things that relate to artists that they might know or something that would be important to them. We have an African-American population as well, so we've been doing Jean-Michel Basquiat. And the kids have loved it from kindergarten all the way up through 5th grade. So I think it's important if you can make that connection. And it's getting to the point now where the little ones, they come up and hug me in the mornings and say goodbye and thank you and yes sir and no sir, and that means they're listening and learning. So you gotta love doing what you do. So
it feels rewarding for you, I'm sure.
Very much so.
John, what's the goal for you as you head into your 5th season with Gastonia?
Well, win a pennant. I hope we win. I hope we win the pennant. We keep getting close. I hope we can win the pennant. But just to keep doing the things that we're doing, I'm happy with the new ownership group. I'm excited about where they're going with all these other little ventures that keep popping up with the hockey and the basketball, and so I'm excited there. And I hope we get more and more sports here. From the football, as I mentioned, we've had in the past, to some soccer, as we can play soccer out there as well. I think I talked with, I may say this wrong, but Jan Jensen. I hope I said that right, with the Panthers.
JJ Jensen.
JJ. With the Panthers, we talked at length one game last year about the 7-on-7 and the flag football that NFL has, about how many fields can we get on the surface out there? Could we bring the 707 outside of that 485 corridor, bring it out of 485 versus inside of 485? So I think it'd be neat to use the facility for more and more athletic things all the time.
Well, John, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I definitely appreciate it. Thanks for sharing all your stories. It was a joy to hear, and best of luck going forward.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me, Noah.